everyone, thanks for bearing with us. We were just having some technical difficulties, but we're going to get started here tonight. Basically, I'll give you a brief intro into what we were trying to accomplish with this event here. We at the ironSource team, we wanted to find a way to turn around what's been a really hard period over the last few months into something positive. And we really couldn't be more exciting to put on an event for the Turkish game developer industry tonight, especially alongside two great companies willing to go the extra mile with us. Both Rollic and Adjust, who you'll hear from tonight, have been fantastic companies to work with. And we're super excited for you to hear more from the presenters tonight, Burak and Kansu. The Turkish game developer market is probably the market that is the most spoken about at ironSource at the moment, and with really good reason. Intelligent people building imaginative companies focused on developing games and in turn creating one of the most dynamic and competitive game industries in Europe. So thank you all for turning up and tuning in. We really hope you enjoy what we have lined up. So what do we have planned for you today? Kicking off the evening, we have Burak, the MD and co-founder of Rollic, who will be talking about Rollic's story of their rapid rise and route to creating #1 games. Following him, we have ironSource's very own Yuval Lotan, Director of Partnerships at ironSource, discussing the secrets of UA and how you can build a tailored UA strategy to fit your game and game strategy. Finally, Kansu from Adjust, the client partner for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, who will finish our evening by shedding the spotlight on the current state of the Turkish gaming market and the data behind its success. Some just quick house rules and points to make before we get started. We'll be recording this and sending the slides after, so don't worry if your internet runs out. We'll send a YouTube link. We're going to be answering about 3 to 5 questions after each talk, so you can send questions via the Q&A. And if you want to hear more about something, you can press the raise hand button and we'll know something to make a note of and follow up with. And that's it. So from now, I'll be giving it over to Burak, who will kick us off with his presentation.
Thank you, Jasmine. My voice comes well, right?
Yes.
I think everybody is able to prove it, but I cannot control it right now. I see the screen.
Hold on, I'm just, you see,
okay.
Yeah. You can't control it, or you can?
I can't right now. Actually, I requested to remote side of things.
Oh, someone is controlling it right now.
Okay, that's me. Okay, perfect.
Hold on, I'll just give you full screen, 1 sec.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So it's a bit slow, but let me see. Now I cannot control it again, I guess. Maybe you can just assist me because my slides are going to take a lot of time. I don't have to skip it every slide, so maybe we can do it together then, right? Jasmine, does that work for you? I take it as a yes.
Go for it.
Okay. Hello, guys. I see more than 100 participants. I'm very happy that this is happening. So thank you for giving this interest on the presentations and today's session, together with one of our biggest partners, ironSource, and one of our biggest partner on attribution side, Adjust. So this is Burak. I'm one of the founders of Rollic. We are 3 founders who started the company back in January 2019. And still we continue managing the company as 3 founders. And it has been almost 15 months since we started. So right now, to give you a brief information, because I'm going to talk very specifically about Turkish market and Turkish gaming industry. So before you ask, who is this guy saying that? These kind of details, I'll just give you a brief information about Rollic. We have right now, currently, we are a hyper-casual publishing company and a hyper-casual studio. We launched our internal studio in March, and we launched our first big title in our internal studio in April. And right now, Rollic has 62 exclusive studios only producing for Rollic. 58 of these studios are Turkish. So we are controlling almost community of 600 plus developers and designers directly working together only with Rollic. Until today, we launched 8 hit titles globally, and most importantly, we launched these titles with 17 different studios from Turkey. And with the latest soft launches of April, this number goes up to 25 different Turkish studios. So I think we have a pretty well knowledge about the market and evolving of the evolution of the industry actually. And this story happened in last 13 months actually, which is basically very fast when you think of a company building up its own structure and scaling very quickly. Can we move to the next slide? Scroll down. Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'll start with the ecosystem in Turkey, since the first thing should be understood for Turkish market is there are massive gaming companies. I don't know if Turkey is as successful as this in any other industry, but this is not something well known. We have Peak Games, we have Gram Games, we have Masomo, which did exits on a very high level in the industry, and we have a massive actual history about gaming companies. So this is very important to start with, because everybody has a good example in front of them. If you're a young student, if you're a young developer, to go where they can work in these big companies or they can set up their own studio. So having a track record on some business especially fits the knowledge of Turkish market a lot. And the second part of it is actually there are more than 3 million university students in Turkey. In terms of the youth population, it's a huge number. So that's why this actually merges with high energy of these people, and they basically don't know where to give this energy because they don't want to work those in traditional businesses like their fathers did, etc. But they want something new which catches the modern life of the youth in Europe, in the world actually. So gaming also fits that. Gaming fits their energy, and of course, all 80% of the total population almost is playing mobile games, and there are many gamers in Turkey. So if you think all of this, gaming is not a coincidence in Turkey. The evolution of the industry is not a coincidence, and the current stage of the industry is not a coincidence, since it already has a huge base. Can we move on to the next one? So before diving deep to Turkish gaming industry, you should understand gaming ecosystem, right? So there's two parts, especially I'm talking about hyper casual and casual games right now on mobile games. There are two parts of this industry. One of them is very important. I think the most important part is game design, which basically includes game production, execution, development, coding, everything about a game, ideation, everything, prototyping, testing, and everything. So the game design part is the most crucial part of an industry, right? But since a game itself is not ready to develop, after it's developed, is not ready to be published, because when you put your game on the App Store, nowadays no one will actually see that game, because there are many examples looking the same. There are many examples that users can easily reach. So putting it on the App Store is not enough. Even if you had a proper game design, even if you had a proper execution quality, put it in just App Store, no one will see it. So comes the rest of the business, which is user acquisition and monetization side of the things. So in user acquisition and monetization side of the things, it's very crucial for you to have the know-how to do it. So like partners like ironSource, which is now covering a huge know-how and market in Turkey, actually helping us and helping other partners to scale their games and reach the highest users amount of possible. And this is a total different know-how. So to understand gaming ecosystem, you should be able to understand both sides of it. Only that game design is not enough, I can say, but only user acquisition and monetization is also not enough. So you should merge this. Moving on from the overall view of gaming industry, yeah, we can go to the next slide. To the evolution of Turkish market. Actually, before 2018, there were many good success cases in hyper casual, also with local companies, also with some studios doing good cases with global companies, but there was no real ecosystem management. All of these studios and all of these developers, besides the big gaming companies, I'm talking about the rest indie ones, which are trying to set up their own companies and their own culture as a game company, were just they didn't know what to do actually. So they were trying to publish their games with global publishers, but the value of coaching they getting was very, very low, since they didn't have a proper coaching on game design. They didn't have a proper coaching on executing a prototype, their workloads, etc. So the struggle was big when we see the indies in 2018. So I'm not going to be very specific about what Rollic did, because I want to give you more information about the industry in this presentation. But what we did for the ecosystem in 2019 when we founded the company was a consolidation. So the consolidation is very important, since after Rollic, everybody was able to identify the talented developers that no one has heard before in the industry. And then, especially with the global players more coming in, etc., the ecosystem a bit consolidated with us. I'm talking about the hyper casual part of things. So what happened? We identified every partner who was, every studio, every developer who was trying to build their games to global publishers and try to make them scale with global publishers. Actually, before us, the track record of that business was like one or two big hit games with a Turkish studio, with a global publisher. Sorry for that. And with the consolidation, we identified every talented studio. And what happened is, as I told you, there's 58 exclusive Turkish studios in Turkey with working only with Rollic. It's a development community of 600 developers and designers. So think how big is that. We have studios in Antalya, we have studios in Denizli, which are more smaller cities of Turkey compared to Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. We have studios in Samsun, we have studios in Gaziantep, we have studios all over Turkey. So this means that there were many hidden talents which we were able to scout in 2019. So this became a consolidation, and with the events, with the success stories, with the contents that we produce, and with the work we do together with the studios, there was a consolidation in the market, and the request for this business was very high after 2019 actually. Just give, sorry, I'll get a water. And with 2020, what we expect, what we see actually is, first of all, there are tons of investment opportunities coming to Turkey right now. Also both in studio side, both in publisher side, and some global companies actually trying to open offices in Turkey. They are hiring Turkish people to give more importance to market, to speak the same language with the studios over here, etc. Sorry, I'll get the water. Thank you. Just a second, sorry. Today was full of meetings, so I'm about to lose my voice. So, and with more investment coming to Turkey, actually, there will be more opportunities coming to Turkey for global players also. We are also in the competition because they are trying to reach our studios, etc. And now everybody's eyes are on Turkey when they want to produce more. So 2020 will be a year of actually acquisitions, will be a year of more investments to Turkish studios, and will be a year of global competitors moving to Turkey much more energetic way. Actually, we can move on to the next slide. So for us, when we started the business, and the way we look to Turkish market is, this defines it very well. It's an ongoing school. Okay. So the most important thing is actually our network, our publishing network, is being fed by universities a lot, which have game design institutions and also computer science institutions. So all the new talented comers of the industry, actually in terms of Turkish developers, are coming from these institutions of universities. And that's why actually we are investing a lot to scouting. Well, by scouting, I mean is we go to these universities, we do game jams, we try to meet all of these new talented comers of the development side of the business, and we try to identify the next big thing on the developer side. So this may be also as a school it gives graduates. So they start as an indie developer, they set up their studios with 3-4 of their talented friends on game design and development. They start working with a publisher, they get the high level of coaching, they launch a game, they launch a big global title, as 17 different studios did in 2019, 13 months with Rollic. And then sometimes they graduate, sometimes they say that, okay guys, we're going to do our own user acquisition, etc., etc. So but the school is never closed. So, and then comes the rotation part of the business. So what happens is an indie studio starts from scratch, they become a full game company, and then a new talented one just replaces them. And this is the rotation of the school. So even though some small partners are becoming giant partners in our life cycle, we believe in the school system, and we are always able to identify the new ones, because it doesn't literally finish. Because think of Rollic, for example. It's a company which is like 15 months old. Think of the studios who produce these global titles. Their companies mostly 2-3 years old. The knowledge behind that is this industry will always have newcomers, and this newcomer structure will continue with the rotation systems. So that's why actually Turkey will never stop putting on new talented developers, and Turkey will never stop having more big game companies in the future. We can move. So what's the key to success for Turkish developers? This is directly based on our experiences until now. The first important thing for a Turkish, especially I'm talking about the developers in Turkey, for them to success is the execution quality comes first before everything, right? By execution quality, I mean coding quality. By execution quality, I mean polishing quality of their games, design quality, idea quality, everything. So the first thing Turkish developers are mainly doing, and have to do actually, is to have a better execution, right? For example, right now we are having requests, almost 10 requests every week from a new Turkish studio or a developer that we didn't meet before. And what we started to do was we started doing interviews with these guys so that we can understand their quality. If they are not qualified enough on execution side, we are literally giving case studies. So we are giving one of our games and we tell them, okay guys, build this game, the same one of Rollic, in 2-3 days or 5 working days, and like convince us that you have a good execution quality. So what does that mean is we are able to identify the stage of each hyper casual studio and casual studio to identify their future of their execution qualities, and if they have the enough talent or experience to build a global release, right? So that's why actually the execution quality comes first. Is if they don't meet the proper execution quality that we need, we tell them, okay guys, go back to tools like Game Factory right now, for example, which will launch a huge education for the developers, or go back to some Unity trainings, etc., to have more experience on your production. If you reach this production level, then you are able to work with a global publisher or Rollic, etc. So execution quality comes first, and after that, I think this is already what Turkish market has, and why it is very valuable is hard work. So Turkish developers, Turkish market, game companies doesn't care about work times. That's something I've seen. That's something I requested as a publisher. If there are studios who have been working with Rollic, they will be understanding it in a very, I think, sad experiences, because you just have 48 hours, 24 hours, or 30 hours to produce some certain stuff of an update or a game, right? So that's why you should work hard. And in Turkey, this is never a problem, right? In Turkey, if the guys believes in your energy, if the guys believes in your if the guys believes in the game, etc., and the processes, they work 24 hours a day, and it's very good to see and know that the hard work is very important for Turkey, since there's always something quoted like Turkish people are lazy, etc. There's nothing like that in gaming industry. I can literally say it's the most hardworking people I've ever seen. So moving on, the sincere approach is very important. The reason actually global competitors of Rollic or any other company is not able to succeed that much with Turkish studios is mainly they don't mainly understand the sincere approach. So this is not like something like breakout, but this is something like you should understand what is important for the developers, what is important for their lives, right? So you should understand what's the future looks like for their lives, and you should give value to them, and you should make a fate roadmap together with them. If the guys believes that your fate is their fate, they do more sincere approach on that side. So the communication we have until today with Turkish developers taught us you should always be very clear, you should always be very sincere, and I think this is something can't be learned. This is something you should have from your company culture or as a communication culture, and the will to succeed. This is also very important because in Europe, especially studios and the hyper casual studios are trying to win, are working with 4, 5, 6 different publishers, and they're already don't have that big will of success since they're winning a good quite amount of money per prototype, etc. So that market is totally different. But in Turkey, with our partners, I can say with the 600 people community, the will to succeed is directly based on the release titles. So the guys want to build a proper big release to the world, not for Turkish market, but to the world. So the will to succeed is very important. That's actually what is the last stage of the execution quality, hard work, and communication. And then comes the ability and the wish to succeed in a very short amount of time. And because especially most of the guys in Turkey also needs that on a financial level. So that's also very important for Turkish market. Let's move. So of course, Turkish developers and Turkish gaming industry has some common mistakes. Taking from will to succeed, of course, there are a lot of developers that I've seen and my team saw had will for easy success. So that's not possible, right? You should never, if you're a developer, if you're a studio, the country doesn't matter. You should never confuse the ability of creating prototypes with a big release, with doing a big release. So since creating a hyper casual prototype is very easy, everybody thinks that creating a global hyper casual release is that easy. We've seen many cases like, okay, we are building a prototype, the metrics are very good, now we're going to do the soft launch stage, and the studios are like, they're trying to swim in a very deep sea because they cannot get out, because there are a huge number of updates they need to do, there is a huge execution level they need to do, etc. So will for easy success is the biggest mistake that developers are doing right now. You should be very proper about the business you're doing. In the end, you will succeed, but the road that will take you to that success will never be easy, even if the game is hyper casual. Because think that hyper casual is the retentions of the games, the lifetimes of the games are always taught to industries that it is low, it takes like 3 months, etc. Yes, it may be true on some certain point, but think that you are developing the most downloaded game of the world of that month. So how can be easy to do that? It shouldn't be, right? Because the most downloaded app, the most downloaded game of the world of that moment should be requiring a big hard work. So every launch we did required a hard work. It was never easy. So usually the developers and Turkish industry and Turkish gaming ecosystem should understand that there is nothing called easy success. And moving on from there, trying to do everything at once. We also experienced this a lot. there were some developers and studios. I understand this, by the way. I think it's not a big problem, but trying to do everything at once is a huge problem. For example, think that you're a developer, you're producing games. So what you should do is, if you're working with a proper publisher, what you should focus on is the game design of these things, the progression of your game, the mechanics of your game, the colors of your game, etc. But I've seen many cases where these developers are trying to focus on the UA and monetization side of the business, right? That's a decision. If you decide to do your own user acquisition monetization, then you should focus. But if you're working with a track recorded publisher, which is a proper one and has many success cases, then you should stop doing that, because it shouldn't, you cannot understand user acquisition and monetization at the same time when you're doing a game design and development and coding, right? So the thing, which is a very common mistake, is sometimes the studios are trying to do everything at once, but everything as an expert. So in terms of coding, in terms of writing, for example, scriptable codes where you can edit all levels from a one certain template, which means that which will save you a week of your time when you're doing an update. That's what should a developer or a game developer should focus. But because you cannot never, it will take a lot of time for you to understand the ad rails, the CPI know-how, the monetization know-how, the waterfall optimization, etc. So you should pick one when you're starting. You cannot do everything at once. And of course, the last mistake and the Turkish studios are doing is there's a huge lack of entrepreneurship actually in Turkey, because they know how to produce good games, they know how to produce quality games, but sometimes we see a lack of building up a proper team, building up a proper team structure or a company structure. I understand this because for me, game production is an art, right? And if you're an artist, you shouldn't care too much about the corporate side of things, but you need some little part of that to set up your future. So that's why I'm not saying that game studios developers should be 50% entrepreneur, 50% studios. I think the ratio there should be 90% artists, 10% entrepreneurs, but we sometimes still see a lack of that 10% in the entrepreneurship side. So I think that's the last common mistake that happens in the Turkish ecosystem right now. Let's move on. So what is needed for Turkish industry? I'll cut short, by the way, because we started late. So I did in a fast version of it not to take any of time of the other speakers. But the first thing needed is a future-proof ecosystem, right? Because this Turkish developers and Turkish gaming industry should understand that if you are working with a publisher or if you're doing it alone, you are not an outsourced development company. And also publishers should understand that you are not a marketing company, okay? Publishing a hyper-casual proper game is working together as two gaming companies. If you have different cultures than this, which we saw a lot different cultures in the industry, especially in Turkey and with other companies, etc., and they all didn't succeed actually. The first key to succeed is, and the needed thing is, a future-proof ecosystem with gaming culture. That's the first thing you need to do. And that's what the market needs most of the time right now, this future-proof ecosystem. For example, let me give you a small example. We never share ideas with our studios to be produced directly. So we don't tell them this is the game design document, build this one. But what we always do is we coach them in terms of how to think of an original idea. So this is like the fishing story. You should teach the guy how to catch a fish if you want a future-proof ecosystem in the market. So actually that's how we succeeded, to be honest. And the second thing we need is encouraging stories. So we need more stories like Rollic. We need more studios like studios of Rollic. We need more studios like Gram Games, Peak Games, etc. So these encouraging stories that we always tell to each other, and actually share on an educational level will encourage more developers and designers, and it will be creating an attention from the state and everyone to this ecosystem of gaming in Turkey. And we need fast capitals. So I'll give you the Ofon example, which is a game fund that we're doing right now. The problem of the funds in Turkey that we've seen is, because I know studios who had some gave their like 10%, 15% of their shares to a very small amount of money, etc. And the guys struggled for like 2 years because there was a share structure already in, the promise is not kept, etc. And they're trying to do some corporate things to get it out, etc. But the thing important is these capital systems in Turkey, especially if the studio is a good entrepreneur, it should be very fast. So what we're doing with Game Fund and Ofon is we fund the studios, but we take no shares. That's just an accelerator program for them to build up their proper companies as a game company. So what we do is we coach them on publishing, we release games together, we do an advanced payment capital system, and in the end, this capital system creates game companies. And we don't take shares because we are a game company, we don't need a share from another game company, a Turkish studio or a studio. What we need is producing more global releases together and to release games together. So always when there's a conversation of capital, when there's a conversation of investment, everyone loses the value, not only in Turkey, in the world right now. Everyone loses the value of producing a game. That's the only thing we need to do. We don't need to focus anything else. So that's why actually Turkey needs more fast and accelerated capitals. This is very important. And moreover, we need educational content. Actually, I'll be honest, for all the industry, no one needs you to post your top chart screenshots. Okay? People need you to communicate the Turkish developers on an educational level. Okay? They need the production stories of your games. They don't need the screenshots of the top charts that you share. So Rollic, on its own social media and everywhere, only shares content on educational level, even in terms of branding. So the thing we do hit stories, we do blog contents and everything to share production details of our games. That's the only thing, that's the only way we want to communicate the Turkish industry, because that's the only thing that will work. Okay, so I think the thing we need from the gaming companies, I know that having secrets and having secrets ways of doing things is very important for gaming companies. We also have those, that's some stuff that we don't share with the industry because they are company culture and then company workflow that we don't want to share with anyone. But the production story of a game is something that you can share. So I think the market needs more educational content in terms of actually to share with the developers. Let's move on. So what's the future looks like? The last slide, I think just us, to be honest, will provide until today is 17. With this month, it will be over 23, 24, 25. And until the end of the year, Rollic will be succeeding with 30 plus Turkish studios on a global release level. So we'll, by ourselves, we'll create 30 plus success stories in the industry. And this will take more global competition in Turkey. But the beneficial side of the things will be the developers and studios, because they will have more interest from global partners and global investors. And in the end, for the developers, I can say this last thing, the winner developer, the winner studio, the winner one will be the one who has the highest quality of execution, idea, and those studios will be the one who is surviving, because hyper casual and games are evolving right now. We need more depth, we need more execution, we need more quality ideas to create big global titles. And that's why the execution and idea quality, the ones who has those will be the surviving ones in the future of the Turkish gaming ecosystem. I think that's all for me. And thank you guys. I hope you're all staying safe. I can answer 4 questions if you have any.
Cool. We have already a couple questions that came in. The first one
Yeah.
said, Do you work with solo devs or only with studios? Do you have a hit game in your portfolio that was created by a solo dev?
Actually, no, because if you are not a huge talent, I think it's mostly impossible for you to finish a solo game. You can finish a prototype. Again, don't confuse this. You can finish a prototype, but releasing a global titles, just think of that. We have 23 different SDKs, ad SDKs, advertisement SDKs integrated to the game. All of them should be QA'd, all of them should be tested every week, etc. with all ad units. So even that, without just leaving the game design on the different level, it will have a huge time. So I think it's mostly impossible for you to finish a game if you're a single developer, but you can finish a prototype, but it doesn't mean that you can finish a proper big hit. So we don't work with any solo developers right now.
Okay, another question. What about entrepreneurship? Any unique idea to start a business in Istanbul?
I couldn't get it a lot. So any unique ideas to start a business in Istanbul? What, like in gaming or what?
I'm assuming like tips for entrepreneurship is what you mean.
Yeah, actually, the thing you should do for if you're going to get into a gaming industry, I think you should be one of these three guys. Okay, even if you're an entrepreneur, you should be a game designer, you should be a game developer, or you should be a game artist, right? Or a game designer can be also the product manager. So if you're an entrepreneur in gaming industry in Turkey, you should be able to cover some part of your studio on a daily basis workload when you're producing a game. You should have a creative eye, or you should know how to code, etc. So think of the flows you have in the gaming industry. You should cover one thing when you want to set up a studio. And for me, a proper hyper casual studio in the first foundation just needs two mostly developers, one senior, one maybe junior, but maybe two middle experienced studio developers, one 3D animator, and one product manager or a game designer. 4 people is more than enough.
Okay, next question. What tools do you use for user acquisition?
Oh, nice. I think, first of all, I should start with the guys here, ironSource, of course. Mainly, ironSource is covering a huge amount of our user acquisition operations right now. But of course, we are using more the other social media tools too.
Okay, we have another one here that says, did Rollic start as a game design studio or directly as a publisher? Because I think
actually we started as a publisher. We launched our internal studio in March, and the first ever prototype our internal studio built is the most downloaded game in the world in April right now. I think the reason behind that is the know-how and the big data. So before March, we were only a publisher, and still the company's big operation. So we won't be moving to the internal studio part a lot. The core business, 95% of the business will continue as a publishing part. So we are a publisher actually.
Okay, one last one we have here. How do you understand the quality of any studio by asking a quick replica of an existing game? How do you measure the creativity talent of a studio?
Actually, the first thing is execution quality, because you can teach how to brainstorm an idea, but it will take a lot of time for us to teach them how to execute an idea. So we are able to, when they bring up like 10, 15 ideas to the table, we are able to coach them. Guys, that idea won't work because of this, that idea will work because of this, etc. We can coach during the brainstorming, but after we decide an idea, we cannot teach them how to execute that properly. So the first thing is always execution quality. And the best way to understand is to give a certain case in a certain amount of time. After that, we can teach the brainstorming level side of things, actually.
Okay, and that's it.
Thank you very much, guys.
Really great presentation. Hope that cough gets better.
Thank you. I'm here. I'm listening. Hope the rest will be very good. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Great. And now we're going to bring on our next speaker, Yuval Lotan. Yuval is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at ironSource. He leads the Tel Aviv office's Unified Growth Team, which manages the monetization and user acquisition strategies for the company's hyper-casual and ad-based clients. When he's not at work, Yuval is spending time watching Maccabi Tel Aviv football and basketball and follows the Yellows home and away. Over the next 45 minutes, Yuval is going to go uncover insider tips about developing the best strategy for your company and game and take you on a journey from soft launch to global hit. So Yuval, I'm pulling up your presentation and then you can take it away from there. 1 minute.
All right, great. So hey everyone, very excited to be a part of this great event and to see you all participate. So I see I can control now the deck. So great, I hope you can hear me well. Please let me know if you don't. I'm going to talk about, as Jess said, about the secrets of user acquisition and best practices from soft launch to global hit. Yep. So in our agenda today, we'll first start looking at the life cycle of a hyper-casual game, and then we're going to deep dive into best practices on two main phases. One would be the soft launch, and the other would be hard launch. Two notes about that. So first of all, I'm going to try to be very practical and give you like tips that you can try and implement even tomorrow. I'm going to cover a lot of bullets, and then of course we'll be able to discuss this later on further sessions or questions if you would like. And I am talking about hyper casual, but many of the fundamentals actually address all genres or more similar genres, of course, with the with the different refinements for each genre. So a little bit about me. So Jasmine gave the background. I'm a big sports fan, that's true. I'm also, this is a picture I took, by the way, in the Salar Desert in Bolivia. So I love traveling and I love photography, and basically the two things you cannot do nowadays. So I'm bored at home. Just kidding, not bored. And I've been around in ironSource for the past 4.5 years. I'm managing the unified team, basically in charge of all of our hyper-casual activity in Europe and Southeast Asia. So the biggest clients in the market are under our team. I've been personally working very closely with the hyper-casual since its explosion, we can say, and the connection to the marketability around it. And my team manages the entire Turkish ad revenue-based portfolio. So we're very familiar with this market, and a lot of the points that Burak mentioned are really connecting to what I have to say. I think, and this is how I see things, that this is the fastest growing market in terms of developers and new opportunities. And it won't sound reliable, but it's also, you guys are also my favorite clients, so we'll just have to trust me. I think you have the very, very strong combination of business culture and trust together with professionalism and hard work. So I'm really connecting to that. In terms of the market, this is also from the Salar, by the way. It's the color of the water is real, so it gives the term red ocean a new meaning, I think. And this is basically how I see the market. So of course that it is a red ocean. Many developers are now in the hyper casual market because of its characteristics and the option to develop games quickly and efficiently. And I would say that in this market, of course, you have good games and unsuccessful games, right? And most games don't succeed, but the successful games, I want to say that the material in most cases is pretty similar. What I mean by similar, I mean that retention is looking more of the same. LTV and ARPU curves in many cases looks very similar. And basically, in a growing market with many new players, I believe, and this is my approach, that whoever does it better wins. And this is exactly following Burak's session about execution. So you need to do your business very well in order to succeed in this competitive market. Yes. So let's start by looking at the life cycle of a hyper casual game. So of course you got your market research at start, and basically there you're looking at concepts, you are testing creatives even before you even have a game. So you just want to see if people like the idea of a gameplay or a concept. You can run CPC tests. Of course, market intelligence is very important. You want to understand what's trending nowadays, which mechanics, which type of games are cool and being downloaded. And then once you got something in your hands and you got an actual game, you're going to a marketability test, mainly being done on social, and you want to buy around 200 to 400 users per day, and you're measuring many KPIs like retention, playtime, sessions, returning users, CPI that everyone are talking about. But still, you have many unknown factors which are critical for a game success. Factors like usage rate, engagement rate, the effects of your ads on retention. For example, the positive effect of rewarded video versus the negative effect of interstitials on retention. And of course, you have no idea what's your LTV and ARPDAU and LTV, of course. Like one more problem with this test is that you're looking at only one type of users. So you're buying on Facebook, Snap. At the end of the day, you get more of the same, and it's not exactly the market that the target market that you are aiming for. Later on, we got our soft launch, which is the place where estimation turns into data. And the first time we can actually look at solid data and work with it. And of course, going to hard launch, which is money time. We'll look at the growth loop approach and try to grow the game and maximize the potential of it. And either we'll see great success or not. You know, we see the two different cases all the time. And at the end of the day, you got saturation at the end of the life of the game. And as I said, we will be focusing on soft launch and hard launch and deep dive into that. Cool, so soft launch, it's where estimations become data. So first of all, let's talk about why even to soft launch. So 4 main pillars is, I would say that it's the place to validate your assumptions. It's the place to add and fine tune monetization, which is a huge part. It's a place to understand market performance, which creatives works best, which networks works best. And this is your ground or your first opportunity to really estimate your LTV or try to estimate your LTV and build a hard launch strategy. So going into each pillar, so validate your assumptions. I will say it loud and clear, until the soft launch, you're basically using educated guesses. It's all based on benchmarks you collected throughout time and that can tell you that maybe this game works or like expected to work better or worse, but still these are educated guesses. A low CPI in Facebook says that the game might be viral, but it doesn't mean anything about the potential to succeed in terms of monetization or profit end of day. So you're collecting the data and you're working with it. Adding and fine-tuning monetization. So this is a very crucial part of the game. And in here, you want to find out many things. For example, you want to understand which placement creates engagement. So you can have many placements for ads, but not all will create engagement, and you want to squeeze the lemon. You want to see what works best, and you want to adjust. So just giving you a small example of one of our mediation publishers that is using many placements, and you can see that different placements have different engagement rate, usage rate, impressions per user, and you can play with everything by balancing your rewards. By the way, this is rewarded video. Basically, you want to try and maximize it because it only has a positive effect in your game on your retention, on your ARPDAU and ARPU, of course. So this is one part of it. You want to play with the interstitial frequency, right? That has a negative effect on retention, but has a very positive effect on ARPDAU. And at the end of the day, if you balance it right, helps you increase your LTV. And basically, you want to A/B test both your game and actual game mechanics and both your monetization in order to find the winning setup. This is just a snapshot of our A/B testing tool that helps you to try and understand which is the winning setup. And you should always keep challenging your winner setup because things always change. There's new supply, new demand. So you always want to challenge it on different percentage based on your calls. Waterfall setup. So first of all, this is something that I'm not going to deep dive into. We can definitely set a different session about it, and it's a whole world. I will say that in today's world, the most common mistake I see is that people are using a waterfall that is too granular and using too many instances in prices that are too high. Okay, and was it because in attempt to try and like squeeze the lemon and get the best out of the networks? And actually what happens in many cases is that it's causing latency, which hurts your impressions per user, which directly hurts your ARPDAU and LTV. So in here, my tip will be less is more, and try to start from some point that gives you a good balance between latency and performance, and then try to add and make it more granular as you go, and then find your sweet spot. We have some recommendations in our knowledge center about monetization setups, and of course, the teams in ironSource would love to give you recommendations and work from there. A good solution for this, by the way, is in a bidding, because it solves most of the problems of latencies and setup. One thing I love in our market is that, and this is something I'm repeating to my guys all the time, everything is in the palm of your hand. So basically you need to look at the top charts and just download the games. It's also free, which is great. And then you can play the best successful games, look and really get inspired and look at their monetization implementation and the interstitial frequency. And you can also say, what do you think about it? And what does it make you do? And then get inspired by this implementation, try it, challenge it, and everything is in your hand. And when you're watching ads, the first ads are the best ads that work in the market. So also look at a lot of ads and get ideas from it, and try to get inspired from creatives and trends and behavior and ad types. So everything is in your hand. Play a lot of games. Marketing performance. So you want to understand here during soft launch which ad type works the best. Should I invest a lot in a playable, which costs me X dollars? Should I, maybe for my game mechanic, video plus interactive end card works much better? So definitely things you need to test and decide. You want to find the winning creative set. Creative set means the video plus end card, right? There's many videos, many end cards, and you want to find the best winning combination. Once you have found it, exactly like A/B testing, you want to keep challenge it and then try to find the next winner, because the market changes, and we'll go through that as well. You want to understand which networks are strong to plan your budget, maybe to get some goodies from your networks like creatives, maybe some benefits, boosts, agreements, whatever. But it's a very important thing to understand and plan. In terms of where to launch, I say start where it matters the most. Where it matters the most, in my opinion, and this is my approach, you should start where most of the revenue is, and basically it means iOS, US, and sufficient scale in soft launch usually says between $1,000 to $2,000 a day should give you a good enough picture of users and data you want to collect. Estimating LTV for the hard launch. So this is a very important and crucial part. First of all, you got new users. and new users brings new data. So you want to see that everything that you try to estimate so far makes sense, and you want to adjust based on the new data that you get. Time to market is a very, very big conflict in our business. And why is that? Because we usually have a very short time to go live with our game, although we want to try and measure it and test it and add and A/B test and all the nice stuff I said before, but we don't have time. Why? Because we know that this market is very open, and similar games go live all the time, so we have to be quick. And I put some question marks after building ARPU curves, and the reason is that we don't really have full time to look at our full ARPU curve. We don't have 30 days to test our game, build our LTV estimation, do it step by step. No, it's a different ballpark, and we need to be quick. We need to do an assumption based on your experience and try to estimate the full LTV. And then you want to decide on your base bid, which is the bid that is basically profitable and scalable, or at least not losing at the start. And you want to plan your bidding strategy, which is a very critical thing. The importance of learning is huge. Of course, every network has its own data science and approaches and different parameters. I'm very familiar with ironSource data science and less with others deep learning, but I can definitely tell you that learning phase or the start of the bundle in the game are very critical for its success. And because at the end of the day, everything is about eCPM estimation by the networks for specific creative sets or bundles or the combination. So you want to be very strong on your launch. We talked about launch strategy. So I'm giving you a snapshot of a session that my team member has built. And basically what it's, so let me give you a little background about that. We wanted to recommend to our advertisers on best ways on how to launch a game. So we looked at everything that the market does and basically narrowed it down to two methods. So we have two methods of launching that are usually the most used one. One would be from bottom to top, and the second one would be from top to bottom. And let's just go over them. It's not gonna be a deep dive, but I'll explain you the idea. So the first approach is a data-driven source learning approach, basically running for about 1 week in US and running with caps and trying to get as much as sources as you can on small amounts and trying to figure out source quality during that week. And then after 1 week, we can bid per source in US and we can global launch without source bidding. And after 2 weeks, you can also get to a point where you are bidding per source worldwide based on all the data you've collected. It's very important to do source optimization based on real and accurate quality. And it's very important throughout this whole period to do creative optimization all the time, challenge the winning creatives, maybe replace the loser, get a new creative set, etc. And we're talking about full UA optimization on the source level after 14 to 18 days from launch. The second method would be top to bottom. This is a much more aggressive approach. When I'm saying aggressive, I'm talking about even a bid of $1.50 for the first 3 hours of a game, right? And of course, we know that games, hyper casual games usually have LTVs of 60, 70, 80, 90 cents, right? And no one, like no hyper casual game has $1.50 LTV. But the idea here is actually to try and be very aggressive to maximize the source that you're getting with mitigating the risk by using caps and yeah, you're losing some money on the first few hours or day, but you're safe to know that you covered everything and you're not missing anything on this approach. So high bid, low cap, it's a bit of a more data science learning or launching oriented strategy. It's quick to learn. You should get more sources, or sources you would have missed on method number one will probably not be missed here. We're talking full source optimization within 1 week, usually being done with aggressive interactive end cards to increase and improve CDR. Having said everything, this is a riskier approach, okay? So it's more expensive on the first few days. Of course, if it works, then during those few weeks where you're already fully optimizing, maybe, I mean, in many cases, we see it actually, it's more profitable on the long term, but it's definitely riskier. It's more expensive. You can go out of budgets, and it has advantages and disadvantages. I see both approaches being made in the market, and some more successful, less successful. So definitely these are the two things we see. Hard launch. So this is definitely the time to get your game to the top of the charts. So let's talk about next steps with hard launch. As we said before, you want to find during the soft launch your CPI sweet spot for achieving profitability at scale, right? Of course, it's not a game of margin, it's a game of profit, which is the outcome of margin and scale, right? Or revenue and scale. So you want to open caps after you find these sweet spots. You want to invest in things that takes time and you didn't want to spend time on until now. So localization worldwide, adding China and Android, of course, are next steps. Let's talk about profitability at scale. So at the end of the day, scale is a question of eCPM, if you want to simplify things. Why? Because the publishers or networks, which is the same on that side, on the monetization side, would like to maximize and try to get the highest eCPM, like the highest revenue for each impression. So you want to maximize eCPM. You're limited with your CPI, right? Because you want to try and stay profitable. And the biggest unknown factor is IPM, which is installs per mil, of course. And you want to understand if your eCPM is high enough to drive scale. So this is a snapshot of the ironSource network. And what we can see here on the x-axis, that you can see eCPM, and on the y-axis, you can see the share of voice of applications and where do they stand. And of course, you need to remember that you're always competing with other advertisers, always. So you can see that if you're below $10 eCPM, which is again the combination of bid and IPM that you're able to generate, then it will be very, very hard to get scale to your campaign. And if you're around $20, then this is definitely a good place to be at. And then testing and trying to do everything more granular, but you have a good case to work with. And if you have a very high CPM, then definitely this is the time and place to try and drop bids. And what you'll see is that the scale stays the same. Maybe you overbid until now, and definitely if you have a $60 eCPM, knock yourself out and try to maximize profit. Of course, every case is different based on source, and this is the average that we show. You want to know your IPM benchmark. If you have a hyper casual game and you want to reach to a $20 eCPM, you can do the math on your own, but you want to stay at around the 40-50 IPM benchmarks. And this is as well an average. You got sources where you can see 150, 200 IPMs, and of course, lower, but this is a good average to start working with. And if not, you need to invest more in your creatives. You want to A/B test in different creative sets, and you want to try different ad types and use different ad types. And why is that? This is just an example, but you can see that playable ads usually tend to work better on rewarded video comparing to video plus interactive end card, which might make sense, and vice versa. On interstitial, you can see that interactive end cards works better than playable, but both still work. So you want to use both. It's very important to update and localize your creatives. New designs helps performance. Localization helps to even enhance performance. We see, and this comes from data, that IPM through the numbers of views for a specific user drops by 16% for every additional view. So the user is watching the same ad again and again and again and again, drops his chances to get more installs. So you want to test more creatives. You want to maximize your reach. So you want to target all device types. For example, iPads. Okay, iPads, and of course you want to measure quality on everything based on results. But just to give you an idea, iPads in the US are roughly 20% of installs and revenue, and in China, I'm not sure everyone are familiar with this. It's 64% of the installs, or more than 60% of the installs, and around 50% of the revenue on iOS in China. So iPads are important as well. You want to run a worldwide campaign. You can see in this graph that third of the installs are coming from tier 3 and 4 countries, and there's no such thing as a bad user. There's just the right price for each user. So definitely run a worldwide campaign. A sentence that I hear a lot is, I use the same bid across all networks. So I want to say something about this. You shouldn't use the same bid across all networks. And why? Different networks has different supply, different waterfall positions, different data science algorithm, different advertisers you're competing against. So exactly like you're not buying on the same CPI on ironSource, for example, like you did on your marketability test on Facebook, then you should definitely use different bids on different networks. And the goal that you should aim for is maximum profitability. So you just need to try and test. And if something doesn't work, I recommend to try and do something else, even though you're using the same bid on a different network, which shows results. Cross promotion. So another example for a competitive advantage you can use. Of course, we offer our solution, which basically give you a competitive advantage because you have reduced costs, and then you can get more supply with more profit, or more scale of that supply with the same margin and getting more profit. It is very important to know your supply. So you want to make sure you're buying on top chart apps. And of course, it's not the case that everything always works, but you wanna do it. I see players are doing it, looking at the top charts, making sure they're getting a lot of new traffic. And if you're not, start working for it. Start changing bids, and basically you want to increase bids to get more scale. So you can see here on the right side that IPM drops by 5% with each position of your ad, and it makes sense, right? Because users through time, when they play, they're getting more fatigue, and the IPM drops. In addition, most users are not watching a lot of ads. So if you will be in top positions, you will get more impressions, more installs, and this is incremental. So increase bids to get more scale, and then try to find a sweet spot of profitability, kind of a top to bottom approach. Quality changes. So holidays, weekends, or even Corona changes the behavior of the users. The users nowadays, for example, and we have an article about it in our website, is that users today are watching more ads, doing more installs, playing for longer, basically bringing more quality. So if you're not increasing your bid at this time, and someone else is increasing bid, and they're enjoying more scale, and you're left behind. Of course, you want to adjust bid based on quality and the results that you're seeing. And a very important thing here is to be very granular. So granularity is the name of the game. As much as you will be granular, the most you will be able to squeeze the lemon. And you can go granular on many levels. If it's the source or network that you're buying from, if it's the app that you're buying from, country, of course, you can look at ed type, device type, OS, and many other parameters of different segments you can break by that brings you different quality. And then you want to increase and fine tune your bids on those good sources, and maybe reduce the bid on those not that good sources, and eventually you get more. A thing that we're seeing and also recommending, by the way, is to use automatic optimization after 1 or 2 weeks from launch. For this, you got different solutions. For example, we have our ROS optimizer for our mediation clients. And I also see a trend of many advertisers building their own optimizer, trying to challenge their own optimization. In my opinion, automatic optimization has to be the future, or has to be try to be implemented, because it's simply too much granularity for a human being or a huge team even to handle. LTV prediction. So in here, and we had a session about it just today by our GM Amir, about defining the right ROAS goal. So defining the right ROAS goal basically means almost everything, because this is the game between margin and scale and maximizing your profit. So a few points about that. First of all, you gotta have a solid baseline. So you want to accurately measure your LTV, right? So we offer our ad revenue measurement, but you want to use an accurate measurement, and you don't want to use assumptions, because assumptions is something that you cannot work with at this point in this kind of budgets and risk. You want to look at different segments. Different segments have different ARPU curves. So for example, you can see in this example, the different behavior between China and US. And basically, if you define a day 3 goal, and even though if the end of day 30 LTV is more of the same, on day 3, you want to have different goals to maximize and try to squeeze the lemon. You also want to consider your organic uplift. And of course, this is something that changes based on your charts and other factors, but you got to measure it. You got to consider it in your ROS. Curve behavior change, right? If your game is not new and more users are used to it, then your curve changes. And we see that games performance change, and it only makes sense. So you want to adjust, and you want to stay competitive. You want to update your ROS. This is a very important point, by the way, that I'm seeing that is being missed by many advertisers. They are using that, they found their sweet spot, they're using it, they're optimizing, they're using the same ROS, and at some point when the game becomes less profitable and the performance start drop, they're not dropping their ROS, or they're not adjusting the ROS or margins in order to stay competitive. And maybe I'm earning less from each user, but at the end of the day, I'm earning more because I get more of these users at this point of time. So you want to try to update your ROS and stay competitive and adjust. This is a famous quote saying, what worked yesterday doesn't always work today, and definitely up for it. Growth loop approach. So this is something we talk about a lot, and basically let's look at the loop of the approach of merging monetization, user acquisition. By the way, in our team, we decided to manage ad-based publishers on both sides. We found it very successful and helping us to squeeze the potential of each game to make sure everything is being made very well on both sides. So let's go over the loop. Basically, the step is to get those first users. You want to add monetization, ads in a purchase, etc. You're analyzing and optimizing your LTV, right? And then you are analyzing and adjusting your user acquisition, and it goes on and on through the life cycle of the game. So the loop is a very important thing. Some interesting points about that. So first of all, you can find very cool user acquisition and monetization insights. I'll give you an example. So if you're working with networks and they are very strong on user acquisition, it should basically say that they also have strong potential to succeed in monetization. So you can address those networks and talk about it. And vice versa, if they're very strong on monetization, it should mean that they should have potential to succeed on user acquisition. And then you can get more incrementality by touching this point and trying to use and use the full potential of the networks. Another interesting example is ad units. So we had a case of it was a 1-year-old game, and we tried to improve it and do something about it. And we did a competitive analysis, let's say. We wanted to see how is it, how its monetization actually is being made compared to other games. And we saw that the game is not using interstitials at all, while his competitors are using interstitials. Now, it's a risky thing to tell publishers, hey, add interstitials to your game, because we know that it's a retention killer and can hurt the game, and you need to test it very gently with an A/B test. But we had a lot of confidence to say it, because we saw that on the developer's user acquisition is actually buying a lot of users through interstitials. So we knew that the users who are playing the game now came through interstitials, mean that they like that ad unit. So we added in, so the publisher added interstitials based on our recommendation, and the game hit top charts for many months, only thanks to this thing that pushed ARPDAU, and then of course could adjust ROAS, increase bids, and make this a hit once again. You want to keep challenging your setup. You want to keep A/B testing. Look at similar apps. So I told you that everything is in the palm of your hand. So yeah, if you have no idea how to start with your implementation and what to do, start looking at other apps. It only makes sense to look what happened in the market. This is the guys that you are trying to get impressions above them in the waterfall, and it only makes sense, and do it as much as you can. Better monetization improves your user acquisition, and better user acquisition improves your monetization. So this is not a famous quote by me. So the first part, I think everyone understands. Better monetization increases your LTV, allowing you to bid higher, allowing you to get more scale, right? But I'm not sure a lot of people are thinking about it, but if you're maximizing and you're doing a very good job at your user acquisition, then you're getting more of those good users who are watching a lot of ads. So actually your average ARPDAU increases, and then you can actually help your user acquisition again. So you're helping your monetization, ARPDAU increases, profitability increases, and then you can play with the ROAS and try to make it even more incremental. Cool. So summary for me. By the way, this is Michael Jordan was always my idol. There's now a Netflix show called The Last Dance. I recommend on it. And the reason I put his picture here is because Michael Jordan for me was always a symbol for hard work and the fact that nothing comes easy during his career, and is the best sportsman in history in many people's opinion. And I think it really relates to what we talked about today. There's a lot of stuff you can try to do in the market, and a lot is, and the material is very similar, and the hows and the execution and the hard work can bring you to the place where you take many championships and creating many hits. So I think that to summarize what we talked today, these are unique times with new opportunities to succeed, especially in the Turkish market, which has really a crazy growth around your market of developers and publishers. I truly believe that whoever does it better wins at the end of the day. And you want to stay data oriented, you want to stay granular, you want to compare with others, and you want to react and adjust based on results that you see. Thank you.
Cool. Yuval, we have a few questions that are already in. The first one says, I think it's clarifying about a slide of yours. So what do you mean by position when you say IPM drops by 5% with each position? Is it organic?
No, so position means you can also call it session depth. That's the more professional term. So imagine a user is playing a game, then the first ad he watches has X probability to install, and the second ad has 5% less probability to install, basically in terms of installs per mil, and then 5% less and less and less and less due to user fatigue, because he's just watching a lot of ads and he cares less about installing.
Okay, great. Now they say it's all clear. Thank you. Someone else asks, if I'm not wrong, LTV of hyper-casual games are around 50 to 60 cents, as ironSource mentioned. This average LTV was for tier 1 countries or was for in the US specifically?
So I'm talking about US, and of course it varies, but yeah, I mainly refer to US, which also, by the way, brings most of the revenue, at least on the start, and yeah, so this is US based.
Okay, and then we have another one here. In your opinion, what are some UA tips for a new company looking to just start UA?
So first of all, this deck, just UA tips, that was the question? Yeah,
for like just starting UA.
Yeah, so definitely I would try to connect with my partners, even your networks and your account managers, and try to do some dedicated workshop around user acquisition, best practices. Again, it's a session that you can do for hours, right? That there's many details, and I think I would start from that. Another quick win you can do is use the services of publishing, right? That solves your part of the business side, and you need to figure out if it gives you the great value that you want to earn. So this is like a easy route to use, easier route, and it also makes sense in many cases because it is a complicated world. Yeah, so I would say these two are my recommendations.
Okay, great. Thank you, Yuval, for the really great presentation. Guys, we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll have Kansu from Adjust speaking next. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Guys, we've also, our design team made here a little challenge while we're during the break. So feel free to try to figure out what the answer is. And also in the meantime, I'm gonna send a link in the chat for a feedback survey, whether you wanna answer it now or after at the end, it's up to you, but we really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you, guys. And you can also submit the answer you get of the challenge through the form that we sent. So you can send it there. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started with our next presentation. We have, sorry.
I think I can control it now. Yeah, okay.
No, hold on. All right, can you try now?
No, it's not working, I guess. It was working before. Yep.
Got it?
No. Yes.
Okay.
It's going super fast.
Cool. So I'll just give you a quick intro to all the attendees here. So Kansu here is a client partner for EMEA at Adjust. And in this role, she takes care of existing clients and is responsible for their growth strategy. Kansu is also in a privileged position to shed light on the current state of the Turkish gaming market and the data behind its success. We're super excited about this presentation, so take it away.
Thank you, Jasmine. But it's a sunny day out there, so just let me turn off the curtains. Just 1 second, please. I think it's better now. Hopefully it will get better. So hello everyone, hope you're having a great time here. And I'm Cansu.
Well, actually.
Sorry?
We can't see you that well. I think it's the background. Maybe try turning the background off.
Yeah, just 1 second. It should be working now. Can you see me?
Yes, now we do. Great.
Perfect. So hope you are having a great time here. We are super excited to see you and meet you, even though it's virtually. But during these unprecedented times, hope you are staying safe. And it's a great pleasure to talk about Turkish gaming market. And first of all, I would like to thank Burak and Yuval for sharing their valuable feedbacks with us. And it was a pleasure to listen them. I will try to connect the dots and I will give you an overview. I'm also super excited to talk about Turkish gaming market and what are the key elements which makes them successful. And hopefully you can make it to the end. I will have 45 minutes, but I think I'm planning to finish it maybe in 30 minutes. So I can assure you that you won't regret. If you have any questions, feel free to add it. I will try to cover them at the end. So let's begin. Yeah, it's moving too fast. But
okay,
can you do it for me?
Yeah.
Because I can't control it. It's moving super fast.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is our agenda today. I will start with brief information about us, and then I will give you gaming market highlights. And finally, we will talk about data behind its success. Let's move on. So Adjust is a mobile measurement company. What we are doing is our main purpose is empowering you in terms of your app marketing efforts. And our motto is making marketing simpler, smarter, and more secure for you. And our platform includes measurement, fraud prevention suite, cybersecurity, and automation products. And currently we have, next slide please, more than 475 employees working in 16 global offices. Of course, they are all working from home nowadays, and I miss office too much and looking forward to get back to it. And I'm an optimistic and hopefully things will getting better. So go back to our slide. We are processing 600 billion data points on a monthly basis, and which is a huge number, but we have a great technology and great team to manage it. And our market share is 42% based on ad spend measurement. And if you like to learn more, just feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to talk to you. Yeah, next slide. Today, I won't be talking about specifically Turkey, actually, because we all know that the success of Turkish gaming companies is increasing all around the world. And they have become the favorite of global investors with their achievements. And today, we will try to find out the key elements behind its success. So let's start with state of mobile with next slide. According to AdColony, consumers downloaded a record 204 billion apps in 2019. And annual worldwide downloads have grown 45% in the 3 years since 2016 and 6% year over year. And when we think about this record growth, it can be attributed to growth which is taking place in emerging markets. And like India, like Brazil. But on the other hand, the download growth in the US slowed to just 5%, but that doesn't mean those users in the mature markets are not downloading apps. Still, we continue to see a large number of installs, but just year over year growth has started slowing down. And when it comes to app spend, it was on the rise and $120 billion, which includes subscriptions, in-app purchases. And when it comes to gaming vertical, it's continued to account for majority. And you will see in the next slide, their share, it was 72% of that spending, which is a huge amount of money. So we can move on. Speaking of emerging markets, when we look at the data, I wanted to share with you some insights. How are those successful Turkish gaming companies taking advantage of emerging markets? And we saw that it's becoming more and more important, and previously it was thought less valuable. But now the share of emerging markets, it varies between 10%, sometimes up to 30-35%, and which shows the massive potential in the region. So the reasons behind it, those users are needing to discover new apps, they haven't had chance to build brand royalties, and of course they have lower acquisition costs. We can move on. I also wanted to share with you some numbers from our App Trends report. Last week we released App Trends 2020, and to provide you some perspectives of how COVID-19 has affected the app economy so far. So we are going through a pandemic, and maybe it will be remembered for ages, and it has also huge impact on app economy. And no surprise for gaming vertical, the vertical has seen significant increase because the people started spending more time at home. And in the last week of March, the vertical saw more than double, and it was 132% increase in installs. And the first quarter, when we compare with previous year, 47% increase in sessions and 75% increase in installs we have seen. So it proves that, today it's a great time to make a successful app and start running acquisition campaigns for that, because people are willing to discover new apps. And with the next slide, we will see how successful they are. So far in April, we have seen 9 successful apps in top 10 chart. Those Turkish gaming companies has launched 9 successful apps, ended up top 10 chart. It's a huge, massive success. Congrats to everyone. They are making top 10 charts great again. And I'm really so proud of that. And when we see the vertical based data, it was also taken from our App Trends report, by the way. As you can see, gaming vertical is still dominating top 10 chart. We can move to next slide. So today our main purpose is discovering the key elements behind its success. What are the things they are doing great? For example, Burak mentioned execution quality, hardworking, or people think that creating a hyper casual game is so easy, but actually it's not about designing a game. It's all about hardworking and putting too much effort to succeed. We can move. I think there are some issues. Can you see me now?
You're kind of going in and out. Now it's great.
Yeah, perfect. It might be a good time to go through our agenda again. I will start with measurement and then event tracking and ad revenue. And we will discover the differences between user level data and aggregated data. And as Yuval also mentioned soft launch strategies and he explained in depth, I will be just summarizing. And finally, automation part, which is a hot topic nowadays. So next slide, please. Measurement is a key and making use of it, because it gives us a great strategic advantage, and our strength, it's based on data and taking quick actions on it. We can move. So the user journey is becoming more complex nowadays, and marketers, they are using 14 different channels to engage users. And I can explain how it works. So how the measurement works, how we are tracking. It all starts with ad network, which are serving your banners. And also they are populating advertising ID. And the user click on your banner, and they will be redirected to App Store or Google Play. Our SDK is also implemented within your app, and it can retrieve the advertising ID. And after that point, we start looking for a match. And if we see the same advertising ID coming with a click and impression source, which means the user will be attributed to this channel. Otherwise, if we don't see the same advertising ID, which means the user doesn't interact any marketing campaign, and it will be an organic user. So it will give you the full visibility into how your users are moving through. And next slide, please. And you will be able to measure every single marketing channel. It might be ironSource, Facebook, Google, you name it, and you won't be missing any opportunities to connect with them. And finally, of course, you will measure and compare the performance and to keep your business profitable. And that's what matters most. And we can move on. But that doesn't mean you will create a campaign and sit back doing nothing and hoping that it will be successful. Your retention rate, your LTV will be increasing automatically. Of course, it's not happening. When we look at those successful gaming companies, they are agile. They are running a humongous amount of tests. And so don't stick with just one test because it won't give you the whole answers you need. It's a lifetime process. You need to be able to test every single thing. And after that, you will listen to feedback, how users are reacting. But of course, they won't be texting you. You will be looking at the data. Retention rate, day 7 LTV. But to do that, of course, first you need to define your KPIs. And in order to define smarter KPIs, you need more granular data, which we are moving to another topic in event tracking. It might be level achieved, purchase, unlock achievement. It's totally up to you. There is no limitation, and the more granular data, you will be more flexible to analyze it, to understand user behavior. And you can also leverage custom parameters for deeper insight. It might be which levels are they on. So it will give you the flexibility to define more smarter KPI. And we can move on. So with those deeper insight, each department will be aligned. Product development, monetization team, marketing team, they will stay connected. And that's the most important thing. And they need to access data. They need to see how the users are reacting. For example, product development team, they will highlight the features which are the most popular, which works best. But you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day. So there is no any flawless app ending up in top 10 chart. There is always room for improvement. And that's why you need data. And when it comes to monetization team, they will try to find out which ads format is working best and performing better. And on the other hand, marketing team, they will analyze data and they will analyze your KPIs like LTV, like retention rate. But in order to do that, of course, they will need ad revenue data. We can move on, by the way. So user level ad revenue data, by doing this, of course, they will be able to calculate through actual LTV number. And then you can measure which networks bring the most valuable user. We can move on. And it will give you more accurate ROAS and more precise user level metrics. So imagine combining user level cost data, user level revenue, and ad revenue. And finally, you can calculate user level ROI. And that's what you need to make your marketing decisions. We can move on. So, of course, the LTV is not the same for every users. There are adverts out there and they are making you a lot of money. You need to identify them. We can move to the next slide. We need to identify them to keep them engaged, and we can create different segments. You will also mention cross-promotional campaigns. It's really important because it will give you a competitive advantage. And imagine those users are the most valuable users, which are generating the most revenue. So if you are creating an user group for them, and if you are able to target them and let them know about your new app, so which means you can start making money starting from day one. And re-engagement or retargeting campaigns, of course, it's not popular across hyper-casual gaming companies, and they are on demand. But when it comes to maybe casual gaming, to be honest, there is no one single strategy which will work for everyone. So you can also see the numbers on our app trends report for re-attribution, which shows the efficiency of retargeting campaigns. For gaming category, it was around 2-3% in 2019. So it shows that, yeah, you are focusing on the totally user acquisition side. But for casual gaming apps, it might be a great opportunity if you have a valuable user list, let's say them VIP users, and at some point maybe you lose them, maybe they have started discovering new apps. If you manage to bring them back to your app, and they will start generating revenue for you for sure. And in some cases, the acquisition cost might be cheaper than acquiring a new user actually. We can move on. So it's all about maximizing your CPMs, your ROAS, and it will give you the ability to unlock new user groups with user level ad revenue data. We can move on. We will go through the differences between user level data and aggregated data. So aggregated data, the data, it will be shown on your dashboard and you will be working on it on a daily basis. It will give you an overview, but of course it's not possible to calculate actual LTV numbers with aggregated data. And also you cannot target ad whales. You cannot know who are they with aggregated data, which is also a limitation. But with user level data, you can create lookalike audiences, or you can target ad whales, let them know about your new title. But aggregated data, of course, doesn't eliminate user behavior to networks serving in app ads. Speaking of user level data, how you can receive to your site, we are going to next slide. With raw data export. So with raw data export, it can be sent to your cloud provider or your BI system. On the other hand, aggregated data, you will be able to see your numbers to optimize your campaigns on a daily basis. And you can also see the cohort metrics, which are really important, like day 7 LTV number, and the more data, the more competitive advantage on your side. So the key of the success is being data driven. We can move on. So with aggregated data, you can create advanced reporting. You can see your LTV, you can see your cohort metrics. But on the other hand, aggregated data will give you, we can move on the next slide. It will give you user level LTV, and you will be able to create custom cohorts with user level data. Please, next slide. So we are going to next topic, soft launch strategies. So soft launch strategies, it's important because of course non-successful companies are creating a game and throwing to the store. They are testing lots of things to observe how it works. Can we move to next slide? So the key point is you can launch your new app in a smaller but similar region, and you can observe performance and marketing, and you can iterate product and marketing strategies before going live in key markets. And the competition is really tough out there. So if you are not taking quick actions, of course, there will be someone else and taking your place. And soft launch strategy will give you enough time to understand if you are going to launch it in a key market, or if you are going to kill your game and focusing on a different one. Next slide, please. So why do you need it? The answer is simple. It will enable you to collect more data, pinpoint any bugs, and receive feedback from early players, which is the most important thing. And also you can make sure the acquisition cost and lifetime value. And acquisition cost is the most crucial metric, because the fact that organic user share are becoming more and more smaller. Even when you end up in top 10 chart, it doesn't, of course, it will bring you uplift and incrementality, but it doesn't mean you will stop your marketing campaigns and it will grow automatically. You will still scale your campaigns, and that's why you need to make sure that the acquisition costs are always greater than always lower than the lifetime value. And it will also give you a chance to test your creatives and finding the best one, the winning one, which drives the best performance. And you will learn enough to improve and optimize with each new launch. Next slide, please. So I want to give you some tips and tricks. First of all, pick a similar region, but no two are identical. And establish your KPIs beforehand, because that's the only way to understand if it's working or not. And give enough time to create meaningful cohorts, otherwise it might be misleading. And the most important thing here is make your decisions based on the data. If you are going to launch in a key market, or if you are going to kill the game, it must be based on the data, not the emotions. And we can move on, please. So today, this is our last topic, automation part. Automation part is becoming more and more important. And if you don't want to fall behind the competition, you need to start automating your marketing test, and it will give you a great competitive advantage. You can move on. So this year we are focusing on automation part, because when we talk to our clients, we saw that 80% of time is spent pulling reports and merging data, which is really time consuming, and it's too much time. And next slide, please. 49% of marketers, they have already started automating their marketing tasks. Next slide, please. So imagine being able to analyze your data from one single dashboard and changing your bids and budgets. Earlier, I said that you are using 14 different channels, which means hundreds of campaigns. And if you are working with an ad network, there will be maybe thousands of subsources. So you will be logging in and out to every platform on a daily basis to optimize your campaigns. But if you can change those bids and budgets in the same dashboard, so you will save time. And you can also create multi-platform reports, which will help all departments to stay connected, like product development or monetization part as well. Next slide, please. So especially for UI managers, their days go by doing repetitive works, optimizing campaigns, and there is no human being can optimize a campaign as much as an automated rule can do. And of course, they will have time, because they will save time to focus on what matters the most. They can focus on strategy, they can focus on creative management, they can carry out more tests, which will give them more granular data. And next slide, please. And the other one, please. Yeah. Next slide, please, Jasmine. Yeah, this automate workflows is, let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say your effective CPI is greater than $5. Of course, it's not a relevant example for hyper-casual gaming, but it will give you an idea. You can stop the campaign. Or your day 7 lifetime value is greater than $3. You can increase bit 10% or 20%. It's totally up to you. It's your playground. You can create more rules, and also you are all based in Turkey, but your main target region is the US, and you are making a great success in the US. But because of time difference, so sometimes all platforms you are working with, they are based on auction, so it's all about supply and demand. If there is any opportunity, you set your daily budget. Maybe your bid is dynamic, but if you cannot increase your budget at any time, so that, which means you will lose that opportunity. You will miss that opportunity. But with automation, even if you are sleeping, it will be automated, and when you get up next morning, you will be seeing more numbers and more than which are meant to be. So we can move to the next slide. I want to summarize what we have talked and what are the key takeaways. First, we start with measurement. It's all about measure every single point to find channels that deliver ROI positive users, and collecting data and analyze it. That will be all about getting feedback from your users, and after that understand all those small adjustments and changes, if it's working or not. But sometimes also small adjustment makes big differences, and it will allow you to develop strategies. And I think the most important thing is which makes them really successful. They are data driven and they are really hardworking. They are collecting as much as data possible, and after that they are taking action quickly. And lastly, automation, which will eliminate the inefficiencies on paid campaign side, and you will save time and you will focus on strategy, making new games, new successful games, and creative management. And I think that's all. Thank you for listening. Maybe if you have questions, I'm seeing a couple of questions.
Yeah, we have the first one here. Is asking, what are the key metrics to look at in the loop?
So what are the key metrics? Look at, could you please repeat it?
Yeah, what are the key metrics to look at in the loop?
So, of course, I cannot say just one metric. There are lots of metrics like retention rate or session time or LTV. Of course, the most important thing is how much money you are spending and in return of how much revenue those users are generating. So lifetime value will be really important to you, but you need to give the enough time to analyze this cohort metrics. I think that's the main point.
Okay, next, Cantu, are you based in Turkey, and how can I get started to suggest?
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Currently, I'm in Berlin. I'm based in Berlin, and normally we were traveling a lot, but nowadays, yeah, it's not possible. But of course, we can jump on a call whenever you want.
Awesome. And the last question we have here, soft launch looks very interesting. What's the biggest strength of a Just platform?
So I think our biggest strength is data. So, and that is the most important thing, because that's the only way to understand the user behavior and pinpoint the bugs. And with soft launch, even for soft launch or maybe earlier, you can implement a justice ticket and you can start collecting data, because otherwise you will be blind. You cannot see anything, and you cannot understand and improve your app. So I would say, yeah, that's our biggest strength, giving you the flexibility in terms of data.
Okay, great. Looks like all the questions for now.
Yeah.
Yes, that brings us to the end of the event. So thank you, of course, Yuval, Cantu, and Burak, and of course all the teams at Just and Rollic for really putting on an awesome event. And a big thank you also to James from our team, from ironSource, who put this all together. I think we had some really great presentations, awesome insights that that I'm sure the Turkish developer community is really going to look forward to implementing. Of course, thank you to all the attendees. It's obviously a very hard time, all of us being at home now, but we're very grateful and happy to have hosted you. In case you were wondering, the answer to the ironSource challenge earlier was 45. So we'll be checking if you sent that in, who got it right. And on that, if you haven't filled out the feedback form we sent, we'll also send out an email, so no worries. It would be great. We'd obviously love to learn what we can do better for next time, and more insights that we can share with you guys. And that's about it. So good night to everyone, and have an excellent weekend.
Thank you for joining, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.